Hello and happy Wednesday. You got Colleen on your screen, and today we are talking about dental assistant resume formats. So, a well composed resume is so crucial to getting to that interview stage of the application process, and it starts with a good format. Okay, so there are several different types of resume formats that we're going to be discussing today on today's stream, and we're going to be talking about things to consider when it comes to selecting which resume format is going to work best for you and where you are in your career as a dental assistant. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today. But before we dive too deeply into that, just want to talk a little bit first about Princess Dental Staffing. Okay, so Princess Dental Staffing, they're a dental job board, and they have positions available for dental receptionists, dental assistants, dental hygienists, dentists, and a lot of other dental professionals in a variety of areas. We're talking full-time, part-time, temporary, and permanent roles available. Okay, so if you're a job seeker, you can visit princessdentalstaffing.com and see what positions they have available in your area. You can also create a profile and get your information in front of hiring managers and decision makers if you're a job seeker. And if you are a hiring manager or decision maker within a dental office or practice, you can also visit princessdentalstaffing.com. They've got FAQs, information about how to start the process, pricing, all that kind of stuff. They also have their contact information on their website as well. Phone number, email address, and chat is available on their website as well. So it makes it super easy to start the process and start looking for top talent in the dental industry. Also on princessdentalstaffing.com, you can check out their blog, which covers a lot of the same topics that we cover in these streams. Okay. And as a matter of fact, after today's stream, I definitely recommend that you visit princessdentalstaffing.com and you check out today's blog post, because there are some resume formats that you can use and look at for inspiration, or like I said, you can download and use them as well. So a lot of the work is already done for you. Okay. Speaking of these streams, each week Princess Dental Staffing is bringing you a new topic covering your career in the dental industry. So if you don't want to miss out on future streams, be sure to follow our page or subscribe to our channel. If you like the content we're bringing you, please do drop us a like. And if you want to be part of the conversation, if you have any thoughts or insights or questions about today's topic or about the dental industry as a whole, be sure to comment below. Okay? All right, so let's get into these resume formats. So when dental assistants apply for jobs, having the right resume format is important because it helps you to organize your information in such a way that helps you put your best foot forward, that gives a lasting impression to hiring managers as to what type of professional they're going to be interviewing and hopefully hiring, right? So you want to make sure that all your information is easily readable, easily digestible, so that hiring managers immediately see your qualifications and also what makes you different. What helps you stand out? What is your unique value offering to the dental industry? Okay. And again, all of that starts with the right format. So let's talk a little bit about major formats and why they might work for you or might not work for you. Okay. So there are three main formats. Now, there are tons and tons of different resume formats, okay? But the three main ones we're going to be discussing today are the top three most utilized resume formats. Okay, we've got reverse chronological, we've got functional, and we've got combination. Now, there are other different resume formats, like, for example, graphic formats, but those ones really you don't want to use for like the dental industry. Graphic format would be more appropriate for, say, like a graphic designer or someone in a more like creative type industry. Okay, so we're just going to kind of keep this simple, and we're going to keep it focused, and we're going to focus on these three main resume formats. Okay. Now, when it comes to reverse chronological, that's the first one I mentioned. Okay. It's gold standard. Okay. It's top choice. All righty. Reverse chronological is usually what you think of when you think of a resume. Okay. So it's called reverse chronological because your experience is listed reverse chronologically, right? So the first position listed in your experience is going to be your most recent role going backwards, okay? We're not starting from the beginning of your career to the end. We're starting from the most recent to the least recent. Okay, so that is why it's called a reverse chronological format. And it's gold standard because most ATSs can read reverse chronological formats. Okay, that's the format that most ATSs currently on the market can read easily. Okay, functional formats might get a little bit messier. It really just kind of depends. So let's start off by talking about reverse chronological format and why it's like who it might be good for and why it's the one that you might want to consider using. Okay, so reverse chronological, like I said, it's called reverse chronological because your experience is listed reverse chronologically in your resume. It's the most traditional format and it's going to work for most applicants. Okay, because again, if a large part of your job search strategy involves applying to positions online, you're probably applying to an ATS. Okay, so let's pause for a second and talk about what an ATS is. An ATS is an applicant tracking system. Okay, it's a system that a lot of companies use to track their open positions and the resumes or applications that are submitted for those positions, right, in consideration of those positions. Okay, now ATSs, most of them are programmed so that they can read reverse chronological format, since that's the format that most people use anyway. Okay, so that is the format that most job seekers are going to use. Okay, now there's also a functional format. Now a functional format might work if you are a new grad or if you are returning to work um, from a prolonged sabbatical or a prolonged absence. Okay, because a functional format is not reverse chronological. Basically it focuses more on skills over your work history. Okay, so if you don't have a lot of experience in the dental field, a functional format might work better for you because it's useful to focus on your skills and less on your experience, right? With your resume, we're trying to put your best foot forward. So if your best foot is your skills and not necessarily your experience, a functional format might work best for you. Okay, now a combination format combines both functional and reverse chronological. Okay, and that can really be any elements of either one, right? So most of the combination formats that I see as a resume writer usually have like a section, like a profile section in them that focuses on your top skills and then also has reverse chronological work experience. Usually that's kind of what a combination format looks like, but really it can combine elements from a traditional functional or traditional reverse chronological. It can be anything in between. Okay, but this is a really great one because it balances a strong skills section with a clear work history, and that's great for showcasing things like certifications, etc. Okay, and this format might work best for experienced assistants. Okay, because the beauty of it is that if it does have an element of reverse chronological in there, like in your work experience, then it's more likely that an applicant tracking system will more easily read it. Okay, so those are the three major types of resume formats and who they work best for and why. Okay, so it's really going to depend on where you are in your career and where you want to go, and that's going to kind of help you determine which format is best for you. Additionally, the other thing to consider as well is your job search strategy. Okay, is your job search strategy mostly focused on applying for jobs via websites? Then probably reverse chronological or combination format might work best for you. If your job search strategy relies heavily on networking, then a combination format or a functional format might work best because you're not applying via websites or an applicant tracking system. You're usually probably like emailing your resume. Okay. Alrighty. And here is a pro tip when it comes to your resume format. Make sure that you have one column, okay? So applicant tracking systems really have a hard time reading columned resumes, okay? That's where you have two columns on one page, okay? So they have a really, really hard time reading them. I get a lot of clients who say that they want a column format, and I have to break their hearts and tell them if a lot of your job search strategy relies heavily on applying to applicant tracking systems, you're going to want to go with a single column format. Okay, so one section right after the other, not one section over here and one section over here, because a lot of applicant tracking systems, they read left to right. So if you have a columned format, it might get jumbled up or not read at all by the applicant tracking system. And that can really delay success in the job search, in your job search, okay? So make sure you do that, and make sure that your headings are clear throughout, that they are consistent and clear throughout, okay? Because applicant tracking systems also rely very, very heavily on your headings to determine what it is that they're reading, okay? All right, so those are the resume formats. Now, whatever resume format you choose, there are several things that you want to make sure that you include on your resume. First of all, make sure you have your contact information, okay? Your name, your phone number, your professional email address, and your location, which includes city, state, and zip code, okay? Don't include your street address. We don't complete the application process via snail mail anymore. There's no reason to include your street address. City, state, and zip code is more than enough, okay? And make sure that your contact information is correct and updated. I cannot tell you how many clients, well, it's not like a majority of clients, but I definitely have had several clients who have told me, Colleen, I'm not getting responses, I'm not getting callbacks, and they've got the wrong email address on their resume, or their phone number's off by a digit or something like that, okay? Make sure it is updated and accurate, okay? The other thing you're gonna wanna include on your resume, no matter what format, you want an introduction, a professional summary, a resume summary. This is called a lot of different things, but you want a clear introduction on your resume. Usually you want about 2 to 3 sentences, maybe 2 to 3 lines that highlight your knowledge, skills, and abilities, why those knowledge, skills, and abilities are valuable, and what makes you unique as a dental professional, okay? You also want a skills section, okay? So a skills section is really, really important if, again, your job search strategy relies very heavily on applying to applicant tracking systems, right? Because a lot of these modern applicant tracking systems can also scan your resume, and based on the incidence of keywords and phrases that you see in the job posting, and they match them to the keywords and phrases in your resume, and that can actually determine how qualified you are for the position, okay? Some applicant tracking systems will even score you based on this, okay? So you always want a skills section, not just to display your skills, but it's also a quick and easy way to keyword optimize your resume if you are applying to a lot of applicant tracking systems, okay? Next, you want experience. So again, this is for really combination and reverse chronological format. So you don't necessarily have to include your experience in a functional format. It's usually not included in a functional format, but it might be good to include anyway, even if it's not dental experience, because you can still display skills, right? You can still display related skills. For example, if you were in food service or something like that, that's a lot of customer service, which is a great skill to carry forward into your dental profession, dental assisting, right? And finally, you want to include education and certifications, right? Those are required for a dental assistant, so you need to have that listed on your resume as well. Don't make the potential employer assume that you have what it is that they want, okay? Make sure you list that information, okay? Alrighty. So other things that you may want to consider including are things like specific software, okay? That's always a good thing, especially if the software that the dental office uses is listed in the job posting. That's a great keyword or phrase. So things like Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, those sorts of things. Languages, if you speak any other languages other than English, that can really help boost your resume by displaying skill and knowledge, okay, that can really impact patient satisfaction and patient care. Volunteer and externships, just because you weren't paid for the experience does not mean you did not hone key skills. So if you have some volunteer work or externships that are related, definitely consider including those in your resume. And finally, things like awards and honors, great things to include, and professional memberships as well. So if you have a membership with the DANB, okay, that's a great thing to include, right? Because it really helps demonstrate that you are connected to the dental community and that you care about continuous professional development. Okay. Alrighty. Now, some other things that you can do that can help make your resume shine and stand out. First off, mirror the job post. So this is what we talk about when we talk about keyword optimization, okay? So for example, if the posting mentions sealants, impressions, open dental, things of this nature, make sure you include those exact terms in your resume. Again, this is where skills section is really, really helpful because it's super duper easy to switch out skills, okay? And replace them with words and phrases directly from the job posting, okay? Make sure you're using action verbs in your work experience. Okay, start with strong action verbs. You can also include like adjectives or adverbs, but you want to include at least one strong action verb: prepared, sterilized, documented, educated, coordinated, orchestrated, maintained, tracked, improved, etc. Okay. Quantify results where possible. Metrics really help quantify your experience to potential employers. So for example, you can say something like supported 25 plus patients daily, cut setup time by 15%, trained to new hire assistants, things of this nature. That really helps potential employers be able to quantify the experience that you're bringing to the table. So where possible, quantify, okay? And if you don't have exact numbers, you can say approximately or something like that. Or you can say at least this number, okay? So if you don't have like an exact number, you can ballpark it a little bit, and that still has a really great impact, okay? Next, if you can keep your resume to one page, it's preferable. 1 to 2 pages is standard though, okay? Now, depending on your source, some associations will say that if you have 5 or more years of experience, you probably want a 2-page resume. Some will say 10 or more years experience, you might want a 2-page resume. But a lot of that is going to depend heavily on how many experiences you're going to include on your resume, right? For example, this wasn't a dental professional, but I was writing a resume for a mechanical engineering intern, okay? So it was an internship, they had their degree, so you would think it would be a 1-page resume, but they had 5 internships and externships that were related to what they wanted to go into. Now, generally with a new grad, you want a 1-page resume, but in this particular instance, I did a 2-page resume because I wanted to make sure all of the crucial and relevant information made it onto that person's resume. So again, this is just a rule of thumb. 1 to 2 pages is standard. It's going to depend on how much information needs to be on your resume to demonstrate that not only do you qualify for a position, but that you are, a preferred candidate. Okay, that you are someone that brings a strong work ethic and professional knowledge to the role. Okay. So again, use your best judgment. Next, another pro tip to help make your resume shine is consistency counts, okay? Whatever format you choose, make sure it is consistent throughout. Your headers need to be consistent. The way that you list your job entry headers, right? This is my job title. This is where I worked. These are the dates. This is the location. Make sure you have all of that information included in every single job entry, and make sure that it is similarly formatted all throughout. Make sure your tense is consistent throughout. The bullets that you use, the colors you use, etc. If you choose to use colors, okay? Consistency, consistency, consistency. Okay. And finally, match your PDS profile. Okay. So if you have a profile on Princess Dental Staffing, make sure that it aligns with your resume. Okay. Because if one is very, very different from the other, it's really going to break your brand. There's not going to be any brand consistency. Okay. So make sure that your resume matches your Princess Dental Staffing profile and any other professional social media profiles that you have, okay? They all need to be consistent, okay? Alrighty. So So let's talk a little bit about, so we talked about resume format, we talked about length of the resume. What do employers look for in a resume, in a dental assistant resume? Well, they're going to be looking for things like chairside assistance, radiography and x-rays, sterilization and infection control, charting, and familiarity with practice software. So again, that's going to depend on the practice. That could be Dentrix, EagleSoft, something like that. Patient communication and teamwork. So those are definitely the skills you're going to want to focus on. You want to include those skills in your skills section because that is what is going to be looked for. And finally, should you include your certifications? Yes, absolutely. Don't assume that the potential employer knows that you have them. Okay, go ahead and list them. Not only does that take the guesswork out of your resume, but it also helps with ATS job scanning technology. So if job scanning is used where the applicant tracking system scans your resume for keywords and phrases, that's going to help a lot. Okay, those are the easy ones, right? Okay. All right. So we talked about resume formats and other ways you can help make your resume stand out to get you to that interview phase of the application process. So if you are ready to apply, upload your resume and start applying for jobs near you on princessdentalstaffing.com, where you can connect, or where the platform that helps connect dental professionals with full-time, part-time, and temporary positions across the United States. Okay. So are you currently a job seeker? Do you have any tips or help or insights that can help other job seekers land that job? Are you a hiring manager or a decision maker within your practice? What are some other things that you would like to see on resumes? Let's comment below and get a conversation started. Okay. All right, that will do it for me today, everyone. Hope you found this stream to be helpful and informative. I'll be back next week with a new topic covering your career in the dental industry. Until then, I hope you have a great week. Have a great weekend. Continue to stay safe out there, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.